What's up, everybody? It is Dr. Weber. We're going to talk about body composition according to the NCSF Certified Personal Trainer. So learning goals: understand the connection between obesity and disease, recognize essential healthy and obese body fat values for males and females, understand different types of body fat and types of regional storage, android versus gynoid, recognize indirect and direct methods of body composition assessment, and understand how to use the target's body weight formula. So obesity and disease. The World Health Organization, or WHO, indicates nearly 2 billion adults are obese worldwide. Obesity increases the risk for diabetes, various cancers, heart disease and hypertension, sleep apnea and asthma, arthritis, and it can complicate pregnancy. Body fat is essential. Essential body fat is present in nerve, tissue, bones, and organs. So it's a good barrier conductor for energy in the nerves. It protects your organs. Baseline storage is needed for various homeostatic and hormonal functions. So males, you have to have at least 3 to 5%, and females, you have to have 11 to 14%, or you will have major complications. Roles of fat, so it transports and stores vitamins and lipids. Vitamins A, D, E, A, and K are all stored in fat-soluble stores and lipids. Forms cell membranes, so fat cells form cell membranes. Provides insulation protection, aids functions of the nervous system, and assists formation of hormones. Body fat distribution. Body fats, there is subcutaneous body fat, intramuscular body fat, and visceral body fat. So subcutaneous body fat is right underneath the skin. Intramuscular is below the muscle, and visceral is in the stomach. Android storage. So there's android and gynoid storages. The android storage is centralized, higher risk for disease, and easier to lose. So android the individual looks like an apple. They have an apple-shaped body, very round belly. Gynoid storage is very kind of slender up top and very thick below, and it has lower body, lower disease risk, but it's harder to lose that weight. So it's easier to lose the android types of body fat distribution compared to the gynoid. And android, just think of android apple, and gynoid, think of pear. Body fat distribution. So looking at a cross section of the abdominal region, you have your rectus abdominis at the anterior portion, and right in front of your rectus abdominis is a layer of subcutaneous fat. The liver is behind the rectus abdominis on the lateral side of the right side of the body. And you also have your visceral fat behind the liver, and the spine is directly behind some fat as well. And you have a kidneys there, centrally located next to the spine. Cross section of the thigh, you have your skin, your fat, your fascia, and then it goes into the muscle. Then it goes into the nerves, and then it goes into the blood vessels. Body composition assessments. So there are indirect methods of assessing body fat. You can do height weight tables like BMI, waist circumference, which we've talked about, and waist to hip ratio, which we've also talked about. Clinical assessments, there's dual x-ray, absorptiometry, I think, absorptiometry, hydrostatic weighing, air displacement, plasmography, y'all are probably laughing at me, field assessments, circumference measures, Skinfold measures, and bioelectrical impedance. Height weight tables, so we're going to talk about each of those. Height weight tables, originally devised to predict insurance rates. negligible practice used for trainers have been replaced with BMI. Major issues: tissue composition is not identified, lean mass negatively affects disease prediction, and age variations are not factored into tables. So someone with more muscle is going to have a negative effect according to the BMI. They're going to look like they're overweight, but they're not. And age variations are not factored into the table, so there's no age involved. And tissue composition is not identified, so you really can't, you don't know how much fat and how much muscle you actually have. You're just kind of basing it on a scale. BMI is overall, it's an okay, but at the same time, it has its flaws, as do all scales. So the body mass index, if you are between 18 and 24, that is considered normal. You are considered underweight if you are under 18.5 for men and women. For being overweight, you would be in the 25 to 29 range for BMI. And you can easily calculate BMI. It's your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. So if you don't have a calculator, you can also just Google, BMI calculator, and it should come up, and you just put your height and weight. So obese class 1 would be 30 to 34.9, and obese class 2 would be 35 to 39.9, and obese class 3 would be over 40. So as far as disease risk relative to normal weight and waist circumference, men if it's over 102 centimeters or 40 inches, and women if it's over 88 centimeters or 35 inches. For men, if it's less than 102 centimeters or 40 inches, you're in the normal range, but if it goes over that, you'll be in the risk to disease and based on relatives to norms. So as far as waist circumference goes, single measure to estimate high cardiometabolic disease risk. So the bigger the waist is, the more problems you're going to have. So really controlling the waistline is what we essentially want to think about when we're trying to lose weight. I mean, that's where most of our weight is going to go. That's where most of our weight is going to, feel the most prevalent, because that's where it's typically found, in and around the midline of the back and the stomach. So high risk indicated by over 40 inches for males or over 35 inches for females. More useful when combined with BMI and other girth measures. So if you do BMI and you're over 40 and it says that you're overweight, then you definitely have to start thinking about losing weight. Waist to hip ratio for men. Works better than BMI, but may be inferior to waist circumference. Significantly lower body fat will reduce the ratio even with high visceral central fat, which can underestimate risk. So the risk for heart disease at the different ages, if the ratio is less than 0.83 or less than 0.71 for women, 0.83 for men, you'd be in the low risk category. If it was over 0.94 for men or over 0.82 for women, you'd be in the very high risk zone. Okay, so you want to stay in and around 0.83 to 0.88 for men, and for women 0.71 to 0.77. Once you go to 0.89 for men or 0.92 for or 0.89 for men and 0.78 for women, that's when you'd be getting to the higher risks. Clinical assessments, you can do dual X-ray absorption metry, or DXA. It's the gold standard. So if you really want to determine how much body fat and muscle you really have, then you do a DXA. You can do hydrostatic weighing, uses the principle of buoyancy. So it calculates how buoyant you are in this pod. And we actually have one at UNCW at the rec center. Air displacement, Plethysmography requires a specialized chamber. You go into a certain chamber and they weigh you, or they kind of test the air. I'm not sure what they do. That's actually something I need to probably look up. Circumference measures, easy to perform and require minimal equipment. So you can do around the abdominal, around the waist, around the neck. These are good for the best for obese clients, because then you can really show them that they're losing inches off their midline, inches off their neck, inches off their thighs. It predicts body fat and determines regional storage. So you can, if you measure your thigh, your calf, your waist, your chest, your neck, that type of thing, you can really, in your arms, you can really see, what do you want to get bigger, what do you want to get smaller, and then you can kind of measure those things. So just using a tape measure, that's probably the most simple thing to do. Skinfold measurements, you want to have permission from the client. It needs to be in a very professional setting, and this is usually the last option. It requires pinching of subcutaneous fat with specialized caliper. People who typically get skinfold measurements are bodybuilders. So if you're not into bodybuilding, I don't know if you really need skinfold measurements. You can really estimate by pinching it yourself, because you're just looking for millimeters. Best for leaner clients, not accurate with obese clients. Many sites and equations can be used, like the Jackson-Pollock 3 site is a common one. So you just look up that calculation and put in the millimeters that you get, but you also need a skinfold caliper to do that. And some of them cost a lot of money, but you can actually get some really cheap ones. But obviously the cheaper it is, the less, standardized it might be. But skinfold sites, there's the abdominal, the thigh, the mid-axillary, subscapular, the tricep, medial calf, suprailiac, and the chest. So those would be all different skinfold placements. Okay, as you see, you're going to see a lot of fat in the subscap area. You're going to see a lot of fat in the abdominal area, and you're going to see a lot of fat in the chest area, and probably in the suprailiac area. You can see low fat in the triceps, the thigh, and you're going to see mid-range and mid-axillary, and probably small in the calf. Bioelectrical impedance, I've used these before. They measure resistance to an electrical current ran through body tissues. I actually have one in my office. Greater resistance equals more fat. Many instruments and equations exist with varying accuracy, and handheld devices are popular in gyms. So you're going to see these more in gyms. These are better for clients. It gives you direct answer. It gives you BMI and body fat percentage. You put in your height, weight, your athletic ability, so high or low, your age, that type of thing. No eating or drinking within 4 hours of the test. No exercise or strenuous work within 12 hours of the test. No alcohol consumption for at least 24 hours before the test. If possible, avoid the bowel and bladder before assessment, and avoid testing during menstruation. And diuretic medications will invalidate the test. So make sure that those are all in order before you actually take the test. The body composition continuum. So for men, like we talked about, essential doesn't mean that's what you want. Essential just means that that's like the bare minimum, right? So body fat for men, 3 to 5%. I've been to 6%. I've never been to 5, and 6 is the leanest I've ever been. For women, 11 to 14.9. Women need higher body fat to regulate their hormones, and also because of the risk of being unable to menstruate when you get to a lower level. So it changes your hormones. Same for men. But men obviously can have lower body fat percentage basically because of the genetic factor. Leanness, 6 to 10.9 for men, 15 to 18.9 for women. That would be the leanest you'd ever want to go. And then for fitness, 11 to 15.9 for men, and 19 to 22.9 for women. And that's probably where I'm at. I'm at the fitness zone. I think that's pretty healthy, and it's very easy to maintain, and you don't get stressed. When you're in the lean, when you're in that lean phase, you tend to get more irritable, stressed, anxious, worried. You concentrate too much on the self, and you can kind of get ahead of yourself, and it becomes a little bit too mental. So I like the fitness and healthy ranges. Healthy would be 16 to 19.9 and 23 to 26.9 for women. You're at a moderate risk for a lot of diseases when you get to 20 to 24.9 for men and 27 to 31.9 for women. And you're at high risk when you're over 25% fat for men and 32% for women. I've actually worked with a man who was at he was at 42% body fat when I met him. And then when I left him, he was at around 25%. So, I got him to the high risk, but he was at super high risk. So I think he's probably in the 20 to 25 now, hopefully. That's if he's continuing his program, and then hopefully get him to his goal, which should be 20, and that can take years. That's not something that can just happen overnight, and you don't want people to just, lose tons and tons of weight. So target body weight formula. So this is how you calculate your target body weight. So your fat mass equals current body weight times percent body fat divided by 100, and fat-free mass equals current body weight minus fat mass equals target body weight. So an example, a 30-year-old male weighs 185 pounds and has a body fat percentage of 20%. His goal is to reach 15% body fat. What is his target body weight at 15% body fat? And so your fat mass equals 185 times 0.20 equals 37 pounds. Fat-free mass equals 185 pounds minus 37 pounds equals 148 pounds. So your target body weight would be 148 divided by 1 minus 15 over 100, which would be 174 pounds. So you can figure out what weight you need to be at to get a certain body fat, desired body fat, based on this calculation here. All right, and that's going to be it for body composition. Thanks a lot.